Hello and welcome to episode 14 of CP 2049 Solid State Society. Tonight we have Doc with us who will be playing a new character, and this session is going to explain how his character is connected to Icarus One and all the other players we have met so far. At the end of the mid-season finale, Yin, Yang, Machine, and Trauma um, assault the docks of Icarus One, where they believe Neuro has been captured by an unknown entity. In that process, they infiltrate the facility, recapture Neuro, and take everyone out that had kidnapped him. Yin takes Neuro for herself, leaving with Machine, while Yang leaves with Trauma. And at the end of that session, Yin orders the destruction of the warehouse where Neuro was held. Today's session is 2 days. Actually, this is the third day after that explosion at the warehouse, where we see what are the consequences of Yin's actions and what really happened after the warehouse exploded and the rest of the players went their way. And without further ado, we start session 14. It's a cold morning in Icarus One airport. Many flights come in and out. Lot of travelers in and out of Icarus One. Icarus One is connected to the mainland either by ferry or by constant flights. Icarus One, as we all know, has a lot of trade, both illegal and legal, happening within its borders. And the airport is no different, extremely busy with a lot of businessmen and people of the street alike going about their ways, traveling. In that hustle and bustle, there's a lone figure that kind of steps out. He has just landed into Icarus One. Let's find out who this person is, what role they have to play in our story. Go ahead, Doug.
So, he steps out of his flight and puts a polished shoe down onto the ground, kind of stepping into a small puddle. He looks down and grimaces just a little bit, but nonetheless continues walking. As he steps out, grabs the collars of his coat and kind of straightens his coat up. He's wearing a fashionable suit, fashionable for the times. And he has a hat on, kind of a throwback to an earlier time, a time where he's read the books and seen the movies, a time where detectives dressed a certain way, acted a certain way. He takes the tip of his hat and kind of pulls it down over his eyes as the light hits him. Again, straightens his collar and buttons up the bottom part of his vest, sharp gray suit, and continues to walk through the area. He's walking by all manner of people, even what looks like some families. God, are there still tourists coming into this town? Ugh, he thinks to himself. But he continues on his way, motivated to get to his vehicle. A rented vehicle, but one that he picked out himself, made sure that it had everything he needed, provided by the local officials. He needed to get to his place. He needed to get there soon. He had business in Icarus One, and he meant to be all business in Icarus One. A city of this size, Jesus, what was it now? I think he read last time it's almost at 13 million. Fucking crowded city. Who could stand to be here? He couldn't wait to get out and go back home. But he had a job to do, so he was going to do it. On the way to his car, he just kind of goes through his head. What has to happen next? What's the next step? What's the next step? As he takes each step, processing the thoughts. Someone's in trouble. I wouldn't be here otherwise. When the lieutenant said someone needed to go to Icarus 1, if I could have melted into that back wall and disappeared, god damn it, I would have. The last place I wanted to go. Unfortunately, Lieutenant knew I was the perfect man for the job. We've been here before. I've seen these streets. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. But none of that matters now. I am here. And I'm going to take care of this. We're going to find out what happened to that stupid warehouse. Someone's pissed. Someone else is going to pay for that. And he makes his way through baggage and he collects one small bag of belongings, traveling very light. Takes out his data pad, starts punching some things into it, and waiting to be shown to his car.
Eventually, this unknown man, who seems to be something to do with law enforcement, gets through the long lines of the baggage claim and the rental car. When he shows his identification, there's the clerk at the rental car, raises an eyebrow. He turns to the side, calls his manager. The manager looks at the reservation. Manager, without a word, opens the door, allows Mr. Purcell, allows this unknown gentleman through the back. Everybody around is a little shocked. Who's this person who's getting special treatment? This mystery guest is taken to the back, and there in the carport stands an interesting looking car. On the outside, nondescript. Nothing draws attention. But to the trained eye, it has been retrofitted in many ways. Lots of equipment. The body seems to be plated. The system seems to be built for speed and acceleration. This mystery man gets in, pulls up the address on his data pad, his home in Icarus 1, punches in the coordinates, gets on the highways, starts making his way. Eventually, he gets to a middle-class district, a mixture of shopping malls, local businesses, nothing that would draw anybody's attention to his location. He parks the car, makes his way up one of the many hotels that are there. Doesn't stop at the bell desk, doesn't stop to check in. He knows where he's supposed to go, he knows he doesn't need to check in with anyone. Eventually makes to his room. The TV is on, there's a desk, a coffee table, there seems to be a mini bar. Go ahead, Doc, as you reach your room.
So he gets into the room and takes his coat off, kind of flattens it, irons it out with his hand as he hangs it up on a hanger, puts it away in a closet, shuts the door. He takes his shoes off, unties them each individually, pulls them off gently, makes sure they're straight and organized, and sets them in the closet also, under the coat. And then he takes his hat off, kind of brushes the brim off a little bit with his hand, flips it over, looks on the inside, brushes off the inside, and then he hangs his hat up on a hook next to the closet. He unbuttons the vest of his suit, and then he rolls the white sleeves of his shirt up. He reaches up and he grabs the knot of his tie and kind of loosens it just a little, and then walks over to the minibar, opens it up. The light shines on his face, and you can see that he has a bearded face, mustache, Looks like it's been unshaven for several days now. He reaches in and he grabs some whiskey, opens up the little freezer, reaches in and grabs some ice, clinks it into a glass and pours the whiskey on top of it. He walks back into the room and pulls up in his bag a file, paperwork, another data pad, some photos, sets them all on the desk, spreads them out, and just stands there staring at them as he starts sipping on his whiskey. He shakes his head. Now what? Now what, Purcell? What are you gonna do? He starts thinking to himself, what are you gonna do? Flipping through the papers, he starts looking at the report, the explosion, the fire, and he kind of takes the papers, sets them on a stack, holds his data pad up to it, which creates an instant scan, and then using his fingers, he flings the report up onto a giant screen and just kind of launches it up there all in one motion. And he does that with paper after paper after paper, scans them in by taking a picture and then flinging them up onto a larger screen. Once they're up there, he just starts looking. A warehouse. A warehouse. This is what I was sent here for. A warehouse. If it weren't for the fact that it was 3MCon's warehouse, I guess I wouldn't be here.
And as Purcell is looking at the reports that
all
he's...
of it.
Oh, hey, sorry, Doc. I think you were cutting out. The
I
last
need
thing
to find out why and who.
Hey, Doc. Doc, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, you cut off after saying 3MCon and I thought you were done. Can you repeat that last part again? Sorry.
Yeah, sure. He was commenting on the fact that if it had been any other warehouse, any of these rinky-dink corporations here in Icarus One, no one would have cared. He wouldn't be here. But the fact that this warehouse belonged to 3MCon, in a sea of big fish, they're a big fucking whale. And they want to know what happened to their warehouse. Well, I'm here to find out what happened to their warehouse, what happened and how it happened, and report back. I don't know what was in there, but something they wanted, and something they're very mad about being destroyed. We'll find out, though. We'll squeeze all the right knobs, maybe all the right thumbs. We'll find out. And he just goes back to looking at the images, thinking what his next steps need to be. Purcell knows that something like this generally doesn't happen without one of two things having to take place. A building isn't destroyed, especially a corporate building, warehouse or not, without someone knowing something about it, or someone giving permission for it to happen. He knows that he's going to have to look into the big wigs in Icarus One, corporations and gangs. There's no way something like this happens in this city without them not knowing anything. So Detective Purcell decides that's his first step, is to check in with the local security forces, police forces, see what information they have, and then go from there.
So as Detective Purcell prepares his strategy for tackling his new assignment, he scans all his documents that he has gotten so far into his data pad and the large screen in his hotel room. And as he strategizes, you get a message. The message is from an unknown entity, but you know, based on the signature that's coming from the people that tasked you with this assignment. It says, during your time in Icarus 1, if you'd like to get some local knowledge, speak to Jimmy the Shark at Jimmy's Bar, located in the Haven district.
So Purcell reads the message and raises an eyebrow. Jimmy the Shark, just like I thought. Either a corporation or a criminal. They're the ones that make the moves. They're the ones you have to talk to. This time, it looks like it's the criminal. He clinks his glass and finishes off the whiskey in there. And continues looking at his information, planning his next step to go see Jimmy the Shark as soon as he's able to.
Sounds good. Once you have everything squared off in your room and you make your way down back to the car park and eventually get into your car. Think of your car as a mobile computer rig as well as a conveyance vehicle. For a person with your skills, the car is kind of set up to give you access to any Icarus One systems as long as you have the credentials. It is kind of set up like a police cruiser, but it's not. It's based on the same model. Currently, you do not have credentials to get into like the government systems of Icarus One, but you plan to link up with the local security forces. Will give you an avenue for that. In the meantime, you are free to pull up any information you would like about any of the entities in Icarus One that you would like to know about, including Jimmy the Shark.
Yep, so that would be the very first thing he does. As soon as he gets in, and he's already been in the vehicle once on the way here, so he's somewhat familiar with it already. He specifically asked for this setup in this vehicle, so he's familiar with all the technology inside of it. He immediately goes to the keyboard and starts putting in the information necessary to get information on Jimmy the Shark.
So you hear a bunch of typing and you pull up the information. Jimmy the Shark is basically a new age, small time mafia boss. The mafia don't hold as much sway in 2049 as they used to in the late 1900s. However, Jimmy the Shark has access to the docks. He runs a small drug operation. He at this point is ambivalent, not a threat or not an asset towards your employer. Your employer sees him as someone who might know something, given the fact that he has access to the docks. His address, the system pulls up his address, and he's located in the Haven district. It's about a 20-minute car ride from where you are.
So, seeing that it's that close, Purcell immediately types in the coordinates and kind of sets it on cruise control, keeps his hands on the wheel out of habit, but allows the vehicle to start maneuvering in that direction.
All right. 20 minutes later, the car pulls up into what looks like a seedy little bar um, on the not so nice side of Haven. Your files on Haven show that it is um, a pleasure district. There are some really nice um, bars and whorehouses, but then, just like any pleasure district, there is the upper end and the lower end. This is clearly the lower end.
Yeah, Detective Purcell steps out of the car. And he kind of shrugs his shoulders up as to protect his, neck, his collar from the rain. And he grabs the top of his hat with, his in a kind of triangular position. Grabs the front top of his hat and kind of tips it down just a little bit as he holds his head down and his shoulders up, and walks into Jimmy's bar, looking around him the entire time, just to ensure that he's obviously not being watched or followed.
As you head towards the bar and you look around, by the time you get to the bar's door, you have a pretty good understanding of the area around this. The usual people are hanging around, street drunks, some cheap hookers, but no one stands out as a threat to you. You open the bar door, get in. There is a faint smell of cigar smoke. Not many people in the bar right now, just a few patrons. And there is a single man standing behind the bar. The moment you lay your eyes on him, you can see why someone would call him the Shark. The door tinkles as you open. The bells on the door kind of give the slight tinkle as you walk in. He looks up and he says, "Ah, what can I do for you?"
And Purcell walks in and reaches into his pocket and pulls out his badge and immediately shows his badge.
The man stops. He looks at the corner of his eyes, and then you can see a couple of people kind of stiffen up, straighten up in the bar, and then he peers closely at you and at the badge. That does not look like an Icarus 1 PD badge.
And Purcell raises his head up just a little bit so that he can look at him from under his hat. That's right, I'm not from Icarus 1. I'm from out of town, Jimmy. And I need your help.
Hey, look at this guy, huh? Out of town and he comes to my place looking for help. What does this look like, a soup kitchen to you, huh? Get lost.
Jimmy. Now, I don't know what kind of business you do around here. I don't care about that. But do you want these people around here to know how I got your name? Do you want these people, and he kind of looks left and right, to know that you might be a snitch? Listen, I'm here on legit business, and I was given your name. That means my employer gave me your name. My employer happens to be law enforcement. So, that means you're working with them. Now, do you want to take this into an office so we can talk quietly? Or do you want to continue having this conversation out here with, and he looks left and right again, these people?
And Jimmy kind of stiffens up when you say that. The tough guy, huh? Well, you clearly lost your marbles, Mr. Tough Guy. Why don't you sit down for now? And he kind of looks around at the bar. All right, gentlemen, this seems to be a private matter now. Please finish your drinks and leave now. A few eyebrows get raised, and Jimmy kind of takes his fist and smacks it hard on the bar top. People kind of stiffen, chug their drinks, and The few remaining patrons in the bar leave. Jimmy follows them, closes the door behind, walks around the counter. Well, Mr. Tough Guy, what is it that you would like to talk about? A drink while we talk?
Yeah, Jimmy, I'll have some of your best whiskey.
Very well. And he kind of reaches to the top shelf. You can see he pulls out a bottle that doesn't have a brand on it, but you can make out by the styling of the bottle, the intricate nature of the crystal work on the bottle, that it's an expensive, whatever it is, it's expensive. He, from the behind the bar counter, pulls out two, not shot glasses, but little bigger, maybe more like a whiskey shot glass. Pours two drinks, pushes one towards you, takes the other one in his hand, sniffs it, sips it, pulls a stool from the other end of the bar closer, sits down, and then looks at you.
Jimmy, I was told by my employers that you might be someone who knows something. It's the only reason I'm here. I think you might know something and you might be able to help me with it. That's all. I'll get out of your hair as soon as I get my information.
What is it that you would like to know, Mr. Tough Guy?
The warehouse explosion 3 nights ago. Who did that?
I don't know who did it, but it was on my territory. I tried to look, but it's all covered in shadows. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, Jimmy. But I'm going to need a name. I'm going to need someone to go to, someone else to ask. You know how this works. You've been in this business a little while. I can tell by your, and he looks around the grimy bar, by your state of affairs here, Jimmy.
And he kind of like, makes that the sign for like fuck you, you know. Yes, yes. We were feared one time. Now we are like the rest of the shits out on the street. Well, our time will come if we played smart. No. You're looking for Mr. Tough Guy, some data dealers. There was a deal going down in the warehouse that night. I don't know who the two parties were, but I did hear some names being thrown around. One of the names that caught my ear was the Daybreak Syndicate. They're this new upcoming cyber gang. And he kind of turns to the side and kind of spits when he says the word cyber gang. They're little sissies, you see, hide in the... He kind of waves his hand overhead. In cyberspace, hacking things, taking things that do not belong to them. And he spits on the ground again. They work in the shadows. They were there at the warehouse that night. I don't know who they were meeting, what they were doing. You should talk to the police, the Icarus police, and then he really kind of, digs deep for that phlegm and spits that out. The Icarus police, little shits.
Yeah, don't you worry, Jamie. I'm going to talk to them. I've got some questions for them as well. I just wanted to start on the street, with the regular guys. Just like you, Jimmy, a regular guy.
Jimmy kind of like scoffs.
The Daybreaks, is that what they're called?
Yeah, the Daybreak Syndicate.
The Daybreak Syndicate. These names, I tell you, I don't know how they come up with these names. But in any case, Do they have any connection with the other big boys in the pond here? The guys like Silverlight Pact or the Cryptics? Any of them?
No, tough guy. This is some new breed of criminals. Yeah, they do not work on the street like the Silverlights and the Cryptics. The Cryptics, be careful of those guys. They and the Stacks. They just fought a war with the Chaos Gang and they won. Some strange stories about that war. A group out of nowhere came in and seemed to help the Cryptics win it. Nobody knows who they are.
A strange group swept in and just helped them win their war against chaos, huh?
That's the word on the street, at least. And the Silverlight. Oh, those guys, man. Those guys. They don't ask questions. You see, they just, if somebody looks at them wrong, they just kill them. They are paid up all
Jimmy,
the way to the top of the city. Tough guy. Be careful of those guys.
well, killing people for no reason at all, well, that's against the law, Jimmy. That's against the law.
The law. Don't make me laugh, tough guy. This is Icarus 1. This is not some mainland pussy city. Here you either be the killer or you be the one that's killed. The cops are in it. They're just here to make some money.
Yeah, you're right, Jimmy. But I'm not from Icarus 1. I'm not one of these cops. Anyways, thanks for the help, Jimmy, and thanks for the drink. And you might want to. And he holds the glass up with one hand and with his finger still holding the glass, kind of points around the room. You might want to do some redecorating in here, Jimmy. This place is a dump. And he sets the glass down and he takes the brim of his hat and pulls it down as to give a nod and turns around to walk out.
You kind of feel like daggers kind of, and the back and on your back as this guy just kind of stares you down as you leave his bar, calling that place a dump. He doesn't say anything, doesn't retort, just stands there. He's been around the block a few times. He knows people with power and people without, and he chooses not to engage any more than necessary.
And as Purcell reaches the door and opens it, and the bell kind of clings a little bit as he opens it, he kind of stands there and then turns his head to the left and talks over his shoulder. Be available, Jimmy. I might need you again. You never know. I'll give you a call, or who knows, maybe I'll stop by and have a drink. Be available. And he turns back around and walks out the door.
All right. Where to next?
He wants to go to the police station next.
Awesome. Icarus One has like one central police department and then a bunch of precincts kind of all over.
Yeah, whatever precinct probably would have been in charge of this warehouse location.
Perfect. So you pull up that information back in your car. You see that the precinct 117 is the closest one, and basically currently is investigating the warehouse, and they're calling it like the warehouse fire. Details, especially in the open media, is very scarce. They're basically playing it down, from what it actually is. You punch in the coordinates, and as usual, your car starts taking you there.
As it's taking me there, Purcell's kind of relaxed in the seat. He has the kind of soft buzz of whiskey kind of covering him, sliding over him. It helps him think better. And he's letting the car take him to his destination and thinking about what Jimmy just told him. Uh, thinking about this other group, thinking about the contact he just gave him about this new gang moving in. He's thinking about all these things. It's kind of neon lights move across and wash over the windshield and his windows and kind of reflect off of everything that he has in his vehicle, kind of glowing inside. And he's just kind of taking it all in and looking out at the city, looking at the rain and the glow of everything and people on the streets as he heads off to the police district.
Excellent. In about 15-20 minutes, you get to the police district. You easily find parking to your car, and you make your way up into the police office.
So he walks in and immediately, he looks for, you know, the equivalent of modern times a desk sergeant or someone to point him to whoever's in charge. He obviously shows his badge and tells him, I'm here about the warehouse fire. Who's in charge?
So as you get there, you meet this desk sergeant who, most of the people here, it's very interesting. While they're all, you're used to police officers kind of, dressed in like the uniform with like a Kevlar vest underneath. But here the police officers seem to have like combat armor that they're dressed in. It quickly gives you an idea how bad Icarus One streets can be to the police officers that run this place. You get to the desk, you show your badge, and this desk sergeant's like, Detective Purcell, we were not aware of your arrival, sir.
Yes, that's okay. I just arrived today. I just wanted to get started as soon as possible. The sooner I can get this over with, the sooner I can get out of here. So, listen, doll, just go ahead and point me to whoever's in charge.
Yes, that would be Lieutenant Adams, sir. He will be in his office, just down the aisle.
Well, all right then. Just go ahead and show me to his office.
She kind of looks at you, a little strange. Okay, and she kind of gets up from a chair and makes her way just down the couple of desks, knocks on the door. Lieutenant, there is someone here to see you, a Detective Purcell. And you're kind of behind her, and the office is fully glass, and you can kind of see his expression. He's confused. He's not expecting a Detective Purcell to come and meet him. Very well, show him in. She opens the door for you.
And Purcell walks by her, kind of squeezes by her, and puts his hand up on his head and takes his hat off and kind of holds it above him just a little bit as he squeezes by her and nods. Thanks, doll. And he walks into Lieutenant Adams' office.
Yes, you are Detective Purcell. I was not expecting you, Detective. And from which precinct are you?
And Purcell pulls his badge out and opens it up, and then using the fingers of his hands, he presses it down against the desk so that it's splayed open, so that Lieutenant Adams can read everything on his badge. And he holds it there long enough for him to get a good look at it, read it, and know where Detective Purcell is coming from.
You can see Lieutenant Adams, his fingers shake a bit when he reads the full badge and the authority that comes with the badge. good to have you here with us, Detective Purcell. So, what can I help you with?
And Purcell picks his badge up and folds it back up and puts it back in his left breast pocket, inner breast pocket of his coat. He tucks it in there, gives it a little tap, and holds his hat in his hand as he sits down in a chair without being invited to. He just goes ahead and sits down in a chair, crosses his leg, and holds the hat on the thigh of his crossed leg. LT, I'm here because, well, I guess 3M Con wants me here. I don't know if you know, but that was their warehouse. That was their warehouse that blew up in your precinct. So that means that was their warehouse that blew up under your watch. Do you understand what I'm saying, LT?
And you can see that his eyes widen when you say it was 3M Con's warehouse that blew up. Oh, I wasn't aware of that. Uh, the Yes, the warehouse was completely destroyed. We are investigating it, but we were not aware that 3M Con had contents in that warehouse.
Well, if you had known 3M's warehouse was sitting right there, would it have been better protected? Are you saying that you would have offered more protection simply because of the name attached to the corporation that owns it?
No, that's improper. We protect one and all equally, Detective Purcell. It's just that we were aware of the contents. It would have helped the investigation, you see, to know that it was 3M Con's contents.
Yes, well, unfortunately, sir, it was. That's why I'm here. And he kind of raises his hands up at his side as if to show, look, I'm here. That's why I'm here. I need to get all of the information that you have on the explosion. I need you to tell me everything. I need you to update all the data that you can to me so that I can start going over all of it and figure out what you, no offense, but what you might have missed.
Wait here right now. This is too much. This is our investigation. This is my precinct. This is my jurisdiction. You, Mr. Purcell, and he kind of says Mr. instead of detective this time. You are welcome to oversee, but this is our investigation.
And Purcell clasps his hands together and rests his elbows on the arms of the chair. His feet are crossed at the ankles, and he leans forward in the chair, looking at Lieutenant Adams, and he says, "LT, your investigation? Really? Your investigation? I think you know by now, simply by the fact that I'm here, that this is no longer your investigation. As a matter of fact, LT, this is barely my investigation. I'm simply a tool. This is 3M Con's investigation. They want to know what happened. So, it's not yours, it's not mine. There's no pissing match, you see. It's 3M Con's investigation, and if you have a problem with that, why don't you take that up with 3M Con?"
Well, I will just do that. You just barging in here in my office as if you own this place. And you can see him, he picks up the phone and starts dialing.
Purcell leans back in the chair and kind of smiles as he sees Lieutenant Adams getting frustrated and start dialing numbers. Purcell has an idea of how this might go, so he just leans back and smiles and waits.
Yep. So he picks up the phone. He's like all stood up, like he's standing up in from his chair, and he's like fuming. Get me the captain's office now. And he kind of waits. Captain Stevens, this is Lieutenant Adams. I have a Detective Purcell. He's here. No, wait. No, he's. But it's our investigation. Yes, I understand. But it's been 3 days, sir. We are investigating. No. Yes, sir. We will provide full cooperation. Yes, sir. We will provide full cooperation. Yes, sir. Yes, Detective Purcell will have my personal support. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yes, the precinct is going to be behind him. Yes. Sorry to disturb you, sir. Yes. And he kind of takes the phone off from his ear and kind of keeps it down.
And as he was finishing his conversation, before he even says anything to me, Purcell has already stood up out of his chair and he's buttoning his suit jacket up, getting ready to leave.
Detective Purcell, that's no need to leave just yet. We have a lot to discuss, you and I. Please take a seat.
Oh, well, I didn't want to interrupt your investigation, LT. I mean, I just want to make sure that I'm not stepping on any toes here. I was going to go back to my hotel and kind of do what I can from the sidelines. This is obviously your investigation, as you said, so I was just going to disappear. Is something changed?
Yes. It's indeed, Dr. Detective Purcell. Please take a seat. I was unaware of the urgency of the situation. I was unaware. Please, I apologize for. It has been a rough couple of days trying to get to the bottom of this. Please.
And Purcell unbuttons his coat and kind of gives it a little flick as he sits back down. Moves his hat back over to his knee. He kind of holds as he crosses his legs again, and kind of softly shakes his right foot that's crossed over his left leg, and waits for Lieutenant Adams to go on.
Yes. So you see, Detective Purcell, the warehouse that exploded is on the docks. Yes. We were unaware of its contents. We have retrieved whatever we can from the wreckage, and you are welcome to go there as well to look around in case, if we have missed anything. A second pair of trained eyes like yourself would always be very helpful. Out in our evidence room, and he kind of points like in this direction. We have collected items from the wreckage. Most of it was medical equipment of some sort. It's too difficult to identify. Well, now that you've said it's 3M Con's warehouse, it might make sense that the equipment belonged to them. We were able to pull a few, what can one say, some device numbers. We can share that with you. You can bring it to 3M Con's attention to cross-check their inventory, just to be sure. Yes, there were additionally a few items that did not quite fit. We found pieces of a pretty expensive computer rig. We were unclear at this point what machine like that was doing there. The data on it is definitely scrubbed due to the explosion, but this was some top of the line equipment that was found in that warehouse location. We also found 6 bodies there. Uh, uh, Identification at this point is not possible because of the damage to the bodies itself. We do have dental records that we're trying to investigate. Um, I'm more than happy to share that with you. Um, the explosion itself was caused by what looks like military grade rockets fired upon the location.
Yeah. And with that, Purcell's eyebrow raises, and he looks at Lieutenant Adams as he says that, and he just says, "A rocket."
Yes, Detective Purcell, not one, multiple military grade rockets. Um, Based on the debris and fragments that we have collected, it looks like rockets fired from an assault helicopter.
And Detective Purcell leans forward. Now he's interested. He's obviously interested. LT, I want chemical sniffers out there right now. I want to see what kind of rockets. I want that chemical makeup. I want to know exactly what explosive was used. I want to know what kind of rocket it goes into and who would have access to those kinds of rockets in Icarus 1. I want to know this as soon as possible, so get those chemical sniffers out there. I can't believe you haven't done this already. Get those chemical sniffers out to the warehouse site now and get me that makeup. I need to know who could have had provided and who has access to whatever specific type of rocket was used in Icarus. Do you understand, Lieutenant Adams?
And he kind of, you can see him, like gulp. You can see his Adam's apple, Bob. Yes, it's a little difficult to get that kind of scans done on time in Icarus 1, Detective Purcell. You must understand, Icarus 1, like any big city, is always constrained for resources. But
Make it a priority, Lieutenant. Make it a priority.
yes, you are absolutely right, Detective Purcell. I will make it my top priority to get the chemical sniffers out there. Yes. In the meantime, we have picked up someone who saw some of the exchange that happened in the warehouse that night. It's a low level street thug that was tweaking on the docks. Would you like to speak to him?
Now Purcell's eyes get wide. Oh, really? Well, why didn't you lead with that? Take me to him.
Yes, indeed. He kind of steps up and opens the door for you.
Yeah, and Detective Purcell stands up and straightens out his suit jacket and walks through.
You go through a couple of corridors within the Icarus PD, and eventually you get to what looks like an interrogation room. Inside the room, you can see what looks like street thugs. You've seen them one. You've seen one. You've seen them all. This one is no different from any big city street thug. This one's definitely some sort of like a drug tweaker. He's got tats all over his chest, a blue mohawk, and he's definitely kind of feeling the after effects of being off the drug for too long a period. You can see that he's shivering, kind of like scratching, his hands and his arms, his face. There seems to be a police officer inside there already, but when Lieutenant Adams patches you into the conversation, you can see that it's not going anywhere. The police officer is asking questions, and the street thug is just twitching and not answering.
And Purcell stands out and just kind of listens for a little while, listens to the officer's line of questioning, listening to the thug's responses, and just kind of taking it all in. And then he kind of just turns his head and looks over at Lieutenant Adams. Pull him out, Adams. Referring to the police officer.
Lieutenant Adams nods. He hits the microphone. Officer, can I have a word with you, please? You see the guy inside stop, step out, come greet you both. It's no use, sir. He is not answering any of my questions.
And Detective Purcell, he reaches in to an inside his coat, a holster, and he pulls his weapon out. He checks the chamber to make sure it's empty, and then he sets it on the counter outside of the interrogation room. And he nods at Lieutenant Adams and walks into the interrogation room. He walks into the interrogation room and looks at the thug sitting there, smiles at him, and as he's smiling at him, he takes his coat off. He takes his coat off, and then he kind of just neatly folds the arms across the coat, and then folds the coat in half, and then he sets the coat down on the table. And then he reaches up, grabs his hat and sets it on top of the coat, the whole time not saying a word to the thug. After he sets his hat down on the coat, he rolls his sleeves up on his shirt, leaves the vest buttoned, leaves the collar, the tie tied, but rolls the sleeves up onto his shirt, up to his elbows. And then he pulls the chair off to the side next to the thug, sitting kind of like over here on this side, and he sits down and he leans back in the chair and he looks at him and just says, "What's your name, son?" Are you not going to talk to me? What's your name, son? You can tell me. You there, Zypher? Could you hear me?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. So when you pull the chair, sorry. So when you pull the chair over, he's being non-verbal for the most of it. So you're correct. He's just twitching and shaking, and no name.
All right, no name. I understand that you were, unfortunately, the victim of an atrocity down by the docks 3 days. You've been stuck here for 3 days. Stuck here, getting questioned, not treated like the human you are. I want to help you with that. I just need you to cooperate with me. Do you understand that?
Go ahead and roll me. You're kind of trying to cut through his drug haze with your words and your calm demeanor. Go ahead and give me your int plus talk.
Okay.
Nice. Yes, yeah, I'm the victim. Yes, I'm the victim. Yeah, I've been telling these assholes outside. I'm the victim. They should let me go now. Now they should let me go now. I
You
have
know
rights
what?
too.
This conversation would be much easier if I knew your name, friend. I agree with you. You are the victim, but I don't want to call you a victim. I don't want you to be the victim. So I need your name so that we can communicate like men.
Okay. They call me K. They call me K on the street. Yeah, they call me K. You can call me K. Mr. Fancy Suit Man. Yeah, you can call me K.
Oh, you don't have to call me that. You know what? You can call me Purcell. My friends call me Purcell, and I'm glad that I can call you K. Listen, K. I know you don't want to be here. I don't want you here. I don't think you need to be here. You got caught up in all of this. You know what? I got caught up in all of this. But if you want out, there are a series of steps that need to happen before you can go. Step one, tell me your name. Look, you're already one step into going home. You told me your name. That's great, Kay. There's just a few more steps before you get out of here. You think you can help me with those steps so that you can get out of here?
Yes. Yeah, I can help you, Purcell. Yes, you seem like a nice guy. These assholes have been treating me like shit for 3 days. A man like me needs his medicine.
I understand that. I'm someone who needs medicine as well. I understand your needs, and I'm going to try and help you reach them. Thanks for helping me, Kay. So, step two. Are you ready for step two?
Yes. I'm ready. I'm ready for step two. Yes, I would like to leave now. Yes.
Good, Kay. Step two. That night you were on the docks when the explosion occurred. Do you remember anyone else being there that night?
Yes. I was on the docks. Yes. Huge explosion. Lot of helicopters in the sky. Very loud bang, 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 bang.
So, yes, explosions and bangs, but did you see anyone, Kay? Did you see people or any person around the docks when this happened?
Yes. Lot of people in uniform. Combat fighter uniform. Yes. Yeah. K little scared of people on the docks. Big guns, big shooty guns.
You're doing great, Kay. You're doing a great job. Thank you. Thank you for being so honest with us. You know what? This is the fastest way to get by just being honest and forthright with the information that you have. So you saw people with guns, uniforms. Did the uniforms look like anything, Kay?
Let me think. Yes. They had a symbol. Yes, I saw a symbol. Yes, on the uniform with the big shooty guns.
What did that symbol look like? You know what, Kay? This is step three. What did
Oh,
that symbol look like, Kay?
I
This
can
is
go home.
step three to
I,
getting
I
out of
can
here.
go home. I can go home. Oh,
You're one step closer, Kay.
okay, okay. The symbol. Let me think. Can't remember. Let me think. Yes, it was round like this. Yes, it was round. Yes, and it had a like a like a like a triangle. Yeah, 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 like this. And triangle and a little symbol with, yeah, like a little sun on a triangle at the bottom of a circle. Yes, yes, that was the symbol. Yes, yes.
And Purcell is busily scribbling this down. He's writing this down as Kay is talking. Kay is scribbling his own version, and Purcell is trying to make sense. He's writing all of this down. He's also making digital copies as he's writing it down, but listening to Kay at the same time. You're doing a great job, Kay. This is a huge help.
Yes, yes. K Purcell friend. Yes. K wanna go home now. K needs his medicine. I need my medicine. Yes, K needs his medicine now.
This is step 4, Kay.
Step.
Step 4.
You said only step 3. Step 3, go home. K wanna go home. K no more.
Listen, Kay, I said there was a series of steps. I never said it was 1 through 3. I said a series of steps. Stay with me, Kay. You're a smart man. You've lived on the streets. You've built up some skills. You've got street smarts. Stay with me.
Okay.
Now, Kay, step 4. Did you hear anyone talking? Did you hear any names being said?
No, no names. Very loud. Bang, bang, bang. Big guns shooting everything at each other. Mm, mm. Yes, military man with big guns. And then 4 people. 3 men, 1 woman. They shooting at.
Wait, you said 3 men and 1 woman.
Yeah.
You're sure about that, Kay?
Yes. Yes. 3 men, 1 woman. Women have mask on face. No name, no symbol. I cannot see face. There's a lot of gunfire.
3 men, 1 woman with a mask. Purcell's kind of just thinking to himself. You know what, Kay? You've been a big help. You've been a big help. And I'm sure once you finish all your steps, these fine police here will let you go. They'll
Huh?
let you get back to your normal life.
I want
Just
to.
follow their instructions. Their instructions are the steps. Complete your steps, and you'll get out. All right, Kay? And with that, Purcell's already unfolding his coat and putting his hat on his head. His coat folded over his forearm, and starts walking out.
And Kay is like, but I want to go home now. Now, I need medicine. And then when the door closes, you cannot hear him anymore.
And as the door closes and I can't hear him anymore, then I just kind of whisper under my breath, "Thank you, Kay." And I put my coat on and I look over to Lieutenant Adams. You see, Lieutenant, it's not that hard.
Yes, maybe for you. You seem to have a way with words. But I wouldn't trust anything that man says. He's off his drugs. He don't know what shit he saw.
You're right, and I'm not going to trust anything he says, but do you know what I am going to do? I'm going to investigate everything he said. Because I'm not going to leave any lead unturned. I'm going to look, and I'm going to look, and I'm going to look. And I'm going to find out who blew up that warehouse. Do you know why, LT?
Why?
Because that's what I am here to do. Find out who blew up that warehouse. And do you know what happens, LT? Once I find out who blew up that warehouse?
We put them in jail, yes. Yes, we do.
No. I get to
No?
fucking leave Icarus 1. I get to get out of this place. I get to get out of this hellhole, this rot, this stink of a town that you call home. So, help me find who blew up this warehouse, and I'll leave.
Okay, yes, we can do that. I will send the chemical sniffers out there to get you the composition as soon as possible.
I appreciate it, LT. I appreciate it. That's the first step to getting me out of your town. You're on the right track, LT. Step 1.
You can keep your steps, Detective Purcell. I'm not some tweaking drug user. Don't treat me like an imbecile.
And Purcell just kind of rolls his eyes just a little bit, and then he pulls out his compad and shoots over his basically his inbox or his connection to Lieutenant Adams, and then lets him know, I just sent you my address, my online address. I need you to send me everything you have and everything that comes in. I'm going to start to get to work on this. I'm going to need your help, LT. I'm going to need your help to get this completed, and then once it's completed, you can be proud that you solved this, that you were a part of solving something for 3M Con.
Very, very well. And every time you say 3M Con, you can kind of see him like little twitch a bit, like scared, as if 3M Con is standing behind him, about to kind of smite him down.
All right, LT. We've got work to do. Looks like you and me, well, we're going to be friends, LT. We're going to be friends, and we're going to work close. So let's get.
Yes, you will have my full cooperation.
I appreciate that, LT. I really do. And Purcell starts turning to walk out, and he leans back again and says, I want all the information sent to this data pad as soon as possible.
Yes, you shall have it.
And Purcell walks back out to the front of the precinct. He walks back out, and as he's walking out, he grabs a piece of paper, and he reaches down into his coat pocket, grabs a pen, of course, grabbed his weapon off the desk before he left the interrogation area, put it back into its holster, and he reaches down, grabs a piece of, and he scribbles something down onto it. And as he's walking out, he stops by the desk sergeant, and he kind of leans in. Sergeant, this is this is my number. This is the hotel I'm staying at, and my room number. If you have any information at all about the investigation, well, please feel free to come by. We'll have a drink and discuss the investigation. But no rush. Think about it. Come by when you're ready. And he hands her the piece of paper and turns around and walks out.
Before you do that, give me a charm, connect plus charisma skill.
Connect plus
Nice. uh, you can see that when you're talking to her, she's kind of like eyeing you up and down, and when you give her that the piece of paper with your personal information and how to reach you at the hotel. uh, yes, Detective Purcell, uh, I will let you know as soon as I find something out.
And don't worry about your safety. Get rid of the body armor when you come. You won't need it. But in any case, I'd be happy to work on this investigation with you if you have any information.
And she's kind of like you can see like she's getting hot and flustered when you say that. Yes, certainly, Detective Purcell. If I have anything, I will let you know.
And Purcell kind of tips his hat a little bit as he puts it on his head and turns to walk out of the station.
All right. You walk out of the station and get back into your car.
So Purcell gets in his car and he immediately starts looking up any and all information he can about this new gang in town. He could have asked them in there, but he wasn't impressed with the outfit they have running, so he's going to do this investigation on his. So he starts looking up whatever he can on. I'm sorry, what are they called again?
The Daybreak Syndicate.
The Daybreak Syndicate. Yep, he starts looking up information on Daybreak Syndicate, whatever he can get.
All right. Um, so let me see how to go about this one. So let's do this. Give me, so as you are as when you get back to your car, you also find that you have a an email from Lieutenant Adams, and in it you see that you have now credentials to access Icarus One PD files, and anything that the police of Icarus One can access within the Icarus system, government system, you can have access as well.
Wonderful. So using the police getting access to their system, I start looking up information on this new gang, the Daybreak Syndicate.
Awesome. So let's do this. So give me a no plus int check. This is a little tough, so let's see how it goes.
Oof.
Right. So you start looking for the words Daybreak Syndicate, and nothing within the police reports or the first incidents reports and all of that pop up, and nothing with the words Daybreak Syndicate or anything like that. However, whenever you're searching anything related to that, like you use things like tags and stuff like that, right? You notice that a lot of how do you say content with the same tags come up under the name of Little Wing. You then search what Little Wing is, and you find out that Little Wing is like Icarus One's like a data and tech market. It's like the data bartering, tech and software bartering all happens in Little Wing. And while there is no mention of Daybreak Syndicate itself, given the keywords you're searching for, this one place keeps popping up in all the different reports, but for different incidents altogether.
Okay. So he starts getting as much information as he can, knowing that basically less than I mean, rather than getting specific information on the group, he's getting more information about a specific location.
Hmm.
So he notes that and starts making plans to go there next. But then he also wants to start putting in. Did Jimmy give him a name? I thought Jimmy gave him a name too.
Jimmy said about the Daybreak Syndicate as well.
Okay.
He didn't give him a name. He just said the Daybreak Syndicate was known to have been at that location.
Okay. Yeah. I couldn't recall if he had actually given me a name or not. But so he's punching this information in. He's kind of all the notes and everything, and kind of location keeps coming up. Um, just for coverage sake, just for the sake of being thorough, he heads in that direction.
Okay, awesome. So you head towards Little Wing. Just give me a moment to make sure. So you put in the coordinates for Little Wing in your car, and you see that from this location it's about a 30-minute drive to Little Wing. You start heading in that direction, and about 30 minutes you get to Little Wing. Little Wing, you can see, it's an interesting place. It looks like an old school bazaar. Lots of shops, like both under tents and like brick and concrete. Um, Pretty much everything around here is like it's either electronics, spare parts or gadgets, data disks, data slabs, data pads. You feel that if you want to buy like a burner data comp pad, you could buy it here. If you wanted to buy, say, a data slab with like some code cracking software or illegal software that you shouldn't be owning, you could definitely buy it in a place like this. Um,
Okay, so Purcell immediately looks for any outdoor vendor selling food.
Awesome. So you find that there's this one vendor over here that is selling food in that corner. And when you make your way there, it's what it looks like street food. It is like noodles and broth with like dumplings and of that sort.
Yep. So Purcell he walks up, takes his hat off, sets it on the counter next to him, and pulls up a stool, and he's sitting outside, and the awning of the food stall is kind of covering him, protecting him from a light drizzle that's coming down. He sits there, and takes his coat off, folds it up, and lays it over his lap.
Mm-hmm.
And he orders a bowl of noodles and dumplings.
Nice.
And he just kind of sits there, looking around the area, watching the people, watching them walk by, just kind of getting an idea for the feel of the area as he waits for his noodles.
Yep. So as you look around, you can see that most of the people in this area are in some way or the other, they give off the air of hackers, code crackers, even thieves, but not like armed heists, but more like corporate espionage, breaking and entering into like secure locations. This is the place where all of those deals kind of potentially go down from the way you're seeing it.
Yeah, and getting that feeling And that idea from seeing people walking around, obviously with gear attached to their clothing that gives them personal, private personal networks, own little private bubbles, secure bubbles around them. He's learned to recognize these things being in the field he's in. He knows he can spot the gear and know it for what it is. He checks his compad to make sure that his VPN is secure and attached, and that there isn't any kind of intrusion going on there. He's very very careful and aware of his surroundings.
Yep.
He gets his noodles and just kind of starts eating them and just nods, as a thank you to the person handing him his noodles, and starts going through the information that he has currently in his data pad.
Awesome. So you start doing that, and you start enjoying your noodles. The noodles are interestingly tasty. The broth, nice and hot, and in the cold rain, definitely the steam from the broth is kind of wafting into the air. There's a lot of chatter around you. Nothing that seems of interest. There is some mention about the explosion at the warehouse, but you quickly ascertain that it's like just local street chatter, more on the lines, oh, did you know what happened, and like, oh, there was a big explosion, a lot of gunfights and everything. Nothing new that you've not already heard. um, Give me a notice plus wisdom. Nice. So you, as you're kind of eating your noodles and you're going through the files, you kind of like have this, when everything kind of falls in place and you kind of zone in on something, you feel that the symbol you've drawn, you kind of forgotten about it after stepping out of like the discussion with Kay. Now you look at it and you feel that you've seen it somewhere, and then something kind of clicks in your mind and you kind of stop eating and you slowly start panning around this place. Eventually you see there are a few folks like walking around. There's one sitting at the like at the noodle place with you. um, they have like, most of them either have like some sort of a jacket on or like a vest. um, some of them even have it tattooed, and you see that symbol on their like their right shoulder.
So, Purcell, and you said there's someone sitting at the same bar as I am?
Yes, and he seems to be like this kind of, you know, um, maybe like barely 18. This, um, young lady who's sitting there trying to, eat her noodles, and she's like looking around. This very mousy kind of looking person.
Yeah, so Purcell, he takes a slurp of broth and kind of bites into a dumpling as he's looking around. He spots he spots that symbol that Kay had drawn and that he had copied over, and recognizes it. And he stops and thinks, "Oh, wow!" And he realizes it was the symbol Kay said he had noticed at the docks that night.
Mm-hmm.
So he leaves his coat in the chair and kind of leans over, and he approaches the young woman and says, "Ma'am, excuse me. I'm sorry to bother you. I'm sorry to bother you. I was just having some noodles over here, and I happened to notice the design on your coat right there. It's it's very interesting. I have to admit, I'm a graphic designer. I do a lot of work for a lot of people, and it's just kind of stark and bold, and I'm curious about it. That design, that's great. Uh, where where did you get that design? Is that one of your own creations?
Give me a um, this almost like you're kind of performing, right? You're kind of it's like more like a subterfuge based
Yeah.
discussion. So give me a charisma plus perform. It would just be a 2d6. The charisma washes off the perform.
Wait. Say that again. This is
Charisma?
charisma and
Perform. Perform with charisma.
I don't. I have talk. I don't have
Okay, you have talk. Let's do talk with charisma then.
talk with. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
Nice. So when you first approach her and you start talking to her, you're definitely, she's like I said, she's barely 18, and she's extremely wary of her surroundings. Her her posture and her demeanor is, one who's very unsure of oneself and really like afraid of everything around her. So when you first approach and talk to her, she's kind of taken aback, and all her defenses are up, thinking you're some sort of like a sexual predator, you know. But then when you kind of continue to talk about like you being a designer, like graphic designer, and you talk about the symbol on her hand, and the way you talk kind of takes an edge off her demeanor. She realizes that, okay, I'm in a public place, and this person is not the usual sort she comes around or comes in contact with. She's like, yes, this I didn't create this. I don't know who did. um it's just something that I wear. I'm part of a group, you see.
A group. Well, such a stark design. I really do appreciate it. But is it the design for a specific group? I mean, what is this? What does it mean?
It's and she kind of like sits back a little, and she kind of looks around. It's the coming of a new dawn. It's going to wash over Icarus. It's going to clean Icarus up. Icarus is filthy. It's full of crime and malevolence. There's a lot of hardship and suffering. This new dawn, it's going to cover Icarus in its golden sun light and bathe it, cleanse it, remove all the undesirables. It's going to help us ascend. It's going to help us ascend up there.
Wow, that's a very bold statement, ma'am. That's a very bold statement. I have to agree with you. This is wow. This is eye opening. I have to say. I mean, is this a movement? Is this something that someone can get involved with?
And she kind of looks around again. It is a movement. Yes, it is. It's. We call ourselves. And she looks around. We call ourselves the Daybreak Syndicate. And we are going to bring about a revolution in Icarus One. Everybody's going to ascend into. And she kind of points up again, into the net. We leave behind our filthy surroundings. And she kind of like looks at her hands, all this, this trappings of the human flesh. We're going to ascend, all of us.
Wow, that sounds powerful. That's very impressive, ma'am.
Yes.
I mean, who would one talk to get in to hear more about this? This is very interesting.
I don't know who runs the organization. I'm just on the street. I don't know much, but there's one person in Little Wing who knows a lot. You can talk to him. His name is Elias Green. He got me in touch with the people of the Daybreak Syndicate, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy when I met them. You know, I was on the street, just broken. They took me in. They fed me. They taught me skills. And she kind of like,
Friends, isn't it? Wow, it is so nice to have friends, and I just want to thank you for being so helpful and being friendly to me. Can I pay for your noodles?
oh, yes. Mm, mm, thank you so much. Yes, yes, please, please.
So Purcell kind of like waves to the tender at the proprietor of the noodle bar, and waves him over and pays for both of their meals. Well, I just want to thank you for being so friendly and for so informative. This is such a wonderful, wonderful bit of information. I'm very interested. I think I will be in contact with your friend. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. And you have a blessed day. The day
Oh,
will be
and
soon
blessed
here.
be you as well.
We shall all ascend, ascend, ascend in the sunlight, in the sunshine. And then she kind of starts like, happily, like giddily just talking to herself and like munching down on the noodles.
And Purcell gets up and he puts his coat on and starts walking away. And as he's walking away, he's like, "Yes, ascend, ascend. I can't wait. I can't wait to ascend." Continues walking around the corner to his car.
All right. What next?
He's getting in his car and he's gonna look up the name that she just gave him. And he wants to see if there's a record. He wants to see if there's information. He wants to see if there's any other information about him that he can find out.
Sure. Just move to the wrong. Here we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you just jumped the gun there. I guess
I
there
know.
is.
Yeah. So you get on your system and you start. You look for the word Elias Green, and you can see that there are a number of police reports with the word Elias Green. The name comes in conversation with various folks who are brought in for questioning. There is no picture or image. All it has is Elias lives in the Little Wing district somewhere, and he is not wanted for questioning, but a person of interest in many ongoing investigations that deal with data breaches, IP theft, and so on and so forth.
Okay, so Purcell will immediately start sending information back to the precinct, letting him know that he needs the whereabouts, the location of Elias Green, of one Elias Green. He needs to figure out where this person is, where they reside, and get that started. And then he also is still waiting on the chemical makeup of the explosives.
Mm-hmm.
So there are several things he's waiting on. So since he is waiting, he decides that it's time to head back to his hotel room.
Cool. So you head back from here. It's kind of a little bit all the way across the city. It's about a half an hour's drive. By the time you get back to your room, it's pretty late in the night. It's around 1:30 in the morning.
Yep. You get out of his vehicle and he walks, through the drizzle and kind of gets up into his room and goes through his process again of taking his coat off and hanging it up and flattening and ironing it out with his hand, kind of straightening it out, taking his shoes off, setting them side by side under his coat and then taking his hat off, hanging it on a hook outside the closet. He goes to the mini fridge and again grabs some whiskey out of there, pours it into a glass with a large ice cube in it, and clinks it around, takes a drink. He looks out the window as he stands there, sipping on his whiskey, thinking about his first day in Icarus One and everything he's accomplished already in the one day that he's been here. He's made contact with the one contact he had. He's gone into the police precinct, made contact with them, established his investigation, spoke to a witness there who gave him some very interesting information, especially the symbol that he saw, which allowed him to start looking up Elias Green. Purcell looks out the window and he sips on his whiskey and he feels a sense of accomplishment as he kind of stands there looking at all the lights and the vehicles and the traffic and everything kind of moving around like an anthill below him. And he's being lulled into sleep as the whiskey kind of warms him and takes over. And he knows this is only the beginning. This is the start. From here on out, he's going to find out what happened and who did it. And they're going to pay.
And as Detective Purcell is being pulled into the ant-like motion of the Icarus One traffic, he hears a knock on the door.
And he kind of startles just a little bit, raises an eyebrow and turns. He goes to the door and he kind of slides the old-fashioned peephole and looks out.
There is a finely dressed woman on the other side of the peephole.
Not knowing. Oh, she looks familiar. He opens the door, standing there in his shirt and vest, tie undone, standing there in his socks and trousers.
And when you open the door, she says, "Detective Purcell, you invited
Sergeant.
me to your..." "Yes, indeed, you can call me Sylvia."
Sylvia, I'm so glad you're here. And he motions her inside and shuts the door behind her.
And with that, the screen fades to black as the session comes to an end.
Perfect!